for the debate which motion says Western aid is source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. Western aid, these are goodies from other countries which are not in Africa, and so poverty is the time when you cannot buy anything and should be banned, it should be removed from. Proposers will be agreeing with the motion, while opposers will be disagreeing with the motion.
Honorable Chairperson, respected judges, worthy opponents, and my fellow students, today I strongly support the motion that Western aid is a source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. Western aid may look helpful on the surface, but in reality it has kept African independence instead of developing. When countries rely on aid, they stop building strong industries, strong governments, and strong economies. Instead of empowering Africa to create jobs and use their own resources, Western aid fuels local businesses, encourage corruptions, and weakens self-reliance. Africa is rich in land, minerals, and young people, yet aid has made us beg rather than build. True development has not come from a handout, it comes from independence, accountability, and African solutions. Therefore, Western aid is not a cure for poverty, but it's the one that's causing the poverty. My first point, aid traps countries in long-term dependence. Many African countries have received aid from over 50 years, yet poverty remains high. For example, Malawi has depended heavily on food aid. When donors delay on aid, the country struggles because local farming systems were weak. This shows that aid replaced local efforts instead of strengthening it. Countries that rely less on aid, like Botswana, focus on managing their own resources and develop faster. My second point, aid harms local farmers and producers. When Western countries send free aid, African farmers cannot sell their own crops. For example, in Mozambique, massive food aid from Europe and US in 2000s made imported maize cheaper than the local maize. This made the farmers disappointed, and local farmers couldn't compete with that. They lost income, and also rural poverty increased. My third point, aid, it discourages investment and innovations. When government expects aid, they focus less on creating businesses-friendly environments. For example, Ethiopia reduced aid dependence by investing in manufacturing and exporting, which created jobs and reduced poverty. Countries that focus on trade and industries grow faster than those who rely mainly on aid. I would like to conclude by saying that, Honorable Chairperson, respected judges, and fellow students, today we have seen clearly that Western aid is not a gift, it's a trap. It creates dependence, destroys local businesses, fuels corruptions, and stops Africans building their own futures. Real development comes from Africans solving African problems, not handouts from abroad. Our farmers, our industries, and the government must be empowered, not replaced by foreign aid. Therefore, to fight poverty in Africa, we must ban Western aid. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Anissa Mohammed Farah from the 11th grade. Honorable judges, respected opponents and audience, we, as the opposition side, we oppose this motion that says Western aid is a source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. Western aid is not the cause of poverty in Africa, rather it saves lives, builds nations, and supports vulnerable communities. To ban it, it will banish the innocent, ignore the progress, and make poverty worse instead of better. I would like to start my points. Point number one, Western aid saves millions of people lives in Africa and other poor countries by providing food, medicine, and vaccines during famines and disease outbreaks. Without it, countless children and families will suffer and die unnecessarily, as seen in countries like Sudan and South Sudan. Point number 2, aid supports long-term development by funding schools, hospitals, clean water, and infrastructure. Countries like Rwanda, Ghana have used aid to improve education and healthcare, which helps communities become stronger and more self-reliant. In conclusion, I will say that banning Western aid will banish the poor, ignore the progress, and increase suffering. Poverty is caused by corruption, bad governance, and inequality, not generosity. Aid is a tool, it can be fixed and improved, but it is discarded, countless lives are lost. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mohammed Hassan Ahmed from the 9th grade. Today I'm standing in front of you to propose the motion that says Western aid is a source of poverty for Africa and should be banned. I would like to say yes. The motion itself claims that many goods and support given by Western countries like UK to African nations do more harm than good. In short, it says all aid causes longer-term poverty rather than solving it, so Africa would be better off without it. So my first point is Western aid causes longer-term dependency. This hinders production and development. An example is DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. They receive billions in aid while remain extremely poor. Source wealth plus aid has fueled corruption and power in their country rather than broad development. Western aid also easily helps Western countries to interfere with the government. Using the power of aid they provide to the country, they can interrupt with the political system, and that can lead to political instability in a nation. I would like to end up by saying that when a nation waits for foreign help, they don't get the opportunity to develop and build a better nation for themselves. Instead, their reliance on the foreign help burdens them. Thank you, Jabasan.
Thank you to Jay Abason, two competing sides, honorable judges, bless you, the audience. I stand here before to strongly oppose the motion that says Western aid is a source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. Before I go far, let me outline my points. My first point, aid saves lives and reduces suffering. My second point, aid can support development. My third point, aid helps tackle global issues that affect Africa. My fourth point, aid helps in emergencies. Let me explain my points. My first point, aid saves lives and reduces suffering. Millions of Africans rely on Western aid, food, health care, clean water, and education. Banning aid will hurt many people immediately. My second point, aid can support development. Proper management aid helps build schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. It can provide training skills that help countries become self-reliant. My third point, aid helps tackle global issues that affect Africa. Western aid supports disease control, climate change, adaptation, and disaster preparedness. These issues cannot be handled by African countries alone, as they often need equipment and funding. My last point, aid helps in emergencies. During droughts, wars, and epidemics, aid provides crucial relief. Without it, millions will die or suffer. Conclusion, Western aid is not the cause of poverty, mismanagement of aid, or corruption. Instead of banning aid, we should improve how it's used, making it transparent and focused on development. Banning it will harm people and slow progress. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abdurrahman Umar Mohammed, and I stand as to propose the motion which is Western aid is a source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. And this proverb says that give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Now this proverb clearly shows that the problem with Western aid in Africa. For many years, Africa has received billions in aid. Poverty still exists. Instead of helping countries on their own. In my case study says that in Malawi, large amount of food aid were given during the period of hunger. While this helps in the short period, longer farmers suffered because the freedom reduced demands for their crops. Many farmers stopped farming as couldn't commit, leading a long-term poverty and depended on aid instead of sustainable agriculture. My first mode, which is aid increases corruption and corruption in the government. In a large amount of aid, many pass through the weakened system without profit, contains a farm and misused by official or elite. This encourages corruption, reduces trust in the government, and aid prevents it from reaching the people who need it most. My second point, which is demands local economy and business. When a freedom is sustained, aid produce and inter-African local produce cannot compete. Farmers should be honest, and small institutions lost incomes and jobs. This shows the income growth and increase employment, making a profit which instead of my third point, which is stop invitation and self-relationship with a focus less on education technology and the local institution which slows down progress. In my conclusion is that a broad walking and stick cannot help you across every river. African cannot depend on Western aid forever. True development comes from the institution, hard work, and local solution. To end poverty, Africa must move away from harmful and focus oneself, service, accountability, and income. For Chris, thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson and the House at large. In front of you is Ahmed Mohamed Mahmoud from the proposition side. The motion of today says that Western aid is a source of poverty in Africa and should be banned. On my side, I would like to say that Western aid is not a source of poverty in Africa and should not be banned because of the following reasons. Now let me highlight my points. My first point. Many African governments actively request aid. My second point. In crisis, aid is life-saving and irreplaceable. My last point. Some countries have used aid successfully. Now let me explain my points. My first point. Many African governments actively request aid. Aid is not just imposed. Governments often seek partnerships for fast infrastructure, healthcare, and disaster relief. Banning aid ignores the urgency of African states to choose to cooperate internationally. My second point. In crisis, aid is life-saving and irreplaceable. During famine, droughts, epidemics, and conflicts, aid provides emergency food, water, and medicine. Without the aid, short-term shocks can turn into long-term economic collapse. My last point. Some countries have used aid successfully. Rwanda, which used it as health and governance reforms. Ethiopia used it in agriculture and health. All the countries listed above have used Western support as bridge to strengthen domestic systems, not permanent dependence. Thank you, Chairperson.